In 1900, 41% of Americans worked in agriculture. By 2000, that number was 2%. The other 39% didn't disappear into unemployment. They moved into jobs that didn't exist in 1900. Factory workers, accountants, software engineers, social media managers. Every previous wave of technological displacement created more jobs than it destroyed. Every economist who studied it said the same thing. Don't worry, new jobs will emerge. They were right every single time. The question that nobody can answer about AI is whether they will be right this time. Because this time, the technology replacing human workers is not a machine that does one thing faster than a human. It is a system that learns, adapts, reasons, and improves. And it is coming for every job simultaneously. Not the factory floor first, the office, the hospital, the courtroom, the classroom. Everywhere at once. And the economists who said, "Don't worry," are starting to sound less certain than they used to. The scale of what AI automation means is only visible when you look at the numbers all at once. McKinsey estimates that 30% of current work tasks globally could be automated by 2030 using AI technology that already exists today. Goldman Sachs estimates 300 million full-time jobs globally are exposed to AI automation. The World Economic Forum projects that AI will displace 85 million jobs by 2025, a number that has already proved conservative while creating 97 million new ones. The net number sounds positive until you realize that the 85 million displaced jobs and the 97 million created jobs are not the same jobs, in the same places, requiring the same skills, paying the same wages, accessible to the same people. The truck driver in Ohio, whose job is automated away, is not automatically qualified for the AI ethics compliance officer role that opens up in San Francisco. The gap between the job that disappeared and the job that appeared is not a statistic. It is a human life that has to be rebuilt. The first wave has already happened, and most people missed it because it happened quietly. Legal document review, the process of reading thousands of documents to find relevant information in litigation, was one of the highest billing tasks in corporate law. Junior associates at major law firms billed hundreds of dollars per hour to do it. AI document review systems now do the same work faster, more accurately, and at a fraction of the cost. The junior associate positions that were the entry point into corporate law for a generation of lawyers have been quietly eliminated at firm after firm. The lawyers who remain are more senior, more specialized, and fewer. The AI didn't announce it was taking those jobs. The jobs just stopped being posted. This is how most AI job displacement will happen. Not with a dramatic announcement, but with a gradual reduction in hiring that nobody notices until an entire category of entry-level work has disappeared. Year one of full AI deployment across the economy. The white-collar jobs go first. Not because white-collar workers are less valuable, but because white-collar work is primarily information processing. And information processing is exactly what AI does best. Radiologists who spent 12 years training to read medical images are working alongside AI systems that read the same images faster and with fewer errors. The radiologists aren't fired yet. They are repositioned as reviewers of AI outputs, checking the AI's work rather than doing the work themselves. Their salaries stay the same for now. Their numbers stop growing. New radiologists stop being trained because the career path that justified 12 years of medical training and $300,000 in student debt no longer leads where it used to lead. The profession doesn't end with layoffs. It ends with a generation that chose not to enter it. Year one also takes the entry level. The internships, the junior positions, the assistant roles. The jobs that have always been how people without experience got experience are the first to go because they are the most easily automated and the least politically costly to eliminate. A company that eliminates its senior workforce faces public outrage, union action, and regulatory scrutiny. A company that simply stops hiring interns and junior staff faces nothing. The entry level disappears silently, and the consequence arrives a decade later when there is no mid-level workforce because nobody was trained at the entry level. The pipeline that produced experienced workers in every industry, law, medicine, finance, journalism, software engineering, begins running dry not because AI fired the experienced workers, but because AI never let the inexperienced ones in. Year 2. The creative professions discover that AI creativity is not the same as human creativity, but is good enough for most commercial purposes. Graphic designers who spent years developing skills are competing with clients who can generate acceptable designs in seconds using AI tools. Not great designs, acceptable ones. The market for great design still exists. The market for acceptable design, which was always much larger, has effectively moved to AI. Stock photography, which employed hundreds of thousands of photographers globally, has been functionally replaced by AI image generation. The musicians who composed background music for commercials, YouTube videos, and podcasts, a significant portion of the working musician population, are competing with AI composition tools that produce royalty-free music on demand for dollars per track. The creative middle class, the working professionals who made livable incomes from creative work without being famous, is being hollowed out from below by AI that is good enough for commercial purposes, even when it isn't good enough for artistic ones. Year 2 brings the customer service collapse. 2.9 million Americans work in customer service. Phone representatives, chat agents, help desk staff. AI customer service systems in 2026 handle 70% of customer inquiries without human intervention. The remaining 30%, the complex, emotional, or unusual cases, still require humans, which means 2.9 million jobs become approximately 870,000 jobs. The 2 million people who lose those positions are disproportionately women, disproportionately from lower income backgrounds, disproportionately located in regions where customer service call centers were major employers. The rural town in Tennessee whose economy was anchored by a call center that employed 800 people doesn't get 800 new AI jobs. It gets a data center that employs 12 technicians and generates significant tax revenue that goes to the state government rather than the local economy. The aggregate numbers look fine. The specific communities look catastrophic. Year 3. The transportation sector begins its transformation. 3.5 million Americans drive trucks for a living. Self-driving truck technology has been commercially viable on controlled highway routes since 2024. The full deployment of autonomous trucking on the U.S. interstate highway system begins in Year 3. Not because the technology became perfect, but because the insurance mathematics became undeniable. Human truck drivers have 500,000 accidents per year. Autonomous trucks on controlled routes have a fraction of that rate. The insurance industry reprices commercial trucking insurance to reflect this reality, and suddenly every trucking company's financial model requires autonomous vehicles to remain competitive. The 3.5 million truck drivers don't lose their jobs on a single day. They lose them over 8 years as fleets gradually replace retiring drivers with autonomous vehicles rather than hiring new ones. The youngest truck drivers, those who entered the profession in the last 5 years, will be the last generation to make a career of it. Year 3 also brings the political crisis. The concentration of job displacement in specific industries, specific regions, and specific demographic groups creates political pressures that economic aggregate statistics don't capture. A country where GDP is growing because AI is making everything more efficient, but where 15% of the workforce has been displaced from jobs that no longer exist and has not found equivalent replacement work, is not a country experiencing shared prosperity. It is a country experiencing a bifurcation between those whose skills are complementary to AI and whose incomes are rising, and those whose skills are competitive with AI and whose economic situation is deteriorating. That bifurcation has political consequences that history is clear about. Economic displacement without adequate transition support produces political radicalization. The populations that industrialization left behind in the 19th and 20th centuries produced the political movements that defined those centuries. The populations that AI leaves behind in the 21st century will produce the political movements that define it. Year 5, the healthcare paradox arrives. AI has made medicine dramatically better. Diagnostic accuracy is higher. Drug discovery is faster. Treatment personalization is more sophisticated than anything that existed before. The number of lives saved by AI-assisted medicine in Year 5 is measurable and significant. The number of medical jobs that exist in year 5 is lower than it was in year 1. Not because AI replaced doctors. The doctor-patient relationship, the judgment call in a complex case, the human presence in a moment of vulnerability, those remain irreducibly human. But the support structure around the doctor, the radiologist, the pathologist, the medical coder, the clinical documentation specialist, the insurance pre-authorization coordinator, has been substantially automated. The healthcare system is simultaneously better and smaller, better outcomes, fewer jobs. The two things are connected, and the connection is uncomfortable. Year 5 also brings the education reckoning. AI tutoring systems have demonstrated in multiple studies that they can produce learning outcomes equivalent to or better than human instruction for standard curriculum delivery. The teacher, whose primary function is delivering curriculum, explaining concepts, answering standard questions, assessing comprehension, is competing with a system that never gets tired, never has a bad day, adapts instantly to each student's learning pace, and costs a fraction of a human salary. The teachers who survive are those whose value is irreducibly human. The mentor who notices a struggling student, the coach who builds confidence, the adult presence that models how to be a person in the world. Those teachers are more valuable than they have ever been. There are also fewer positions for them because the administrative and curriculum delivery functions that justified the full teacher headcount have been automated away. The best teachers keep their jobs. The adequate teachers, the ones who are always the majority, face a labor market that no longer needs them in the same numbers. Year 7. The universal basic income debate resolves itself, not through political consensus but through economic necessity. The number of displaced workers who have not found equivalent replacement employment has grown large enough that the existing social safety net, designed for temporary unemployment between jobs, not permanent technological displacement, is visibly inadequate. Several countries implement versions of UBI. The United States, after years of political deadlock, implements a limited version, a monthly payment to every adult citizen that covers basic subsistence but not comfort. It is funded by a combination of taxes on AI productivity gains and a reduction in other social programs. It prevents the worst outcomes, starvation, mass homelessness, while doing nothing about the psychological and social consequences of work displacement. Because the problem with AI taking jobs is not only that people lose income, it is that people lose identity, purpose, structure, and social connection. The UBI payment addresses the income problem. It does not address the human problem. By year 10, the economy has restructured around a new division of labor that nobody designed and nobody voted for. At the top, a relatively small number of people whose work is genuinely complementary to AI. The researchers who push AI's frontiers, the creative visionaries who direct AI tools toward original ends, the leaders who make judgment calls in conditions of genuine uncertainty, the humans whose presence and relationship are the product rather than a means to a product. In the middle, a larger group of people doing work that AI assists but doesn't replace, whose value comes from combining human judgment with AI capability in ways that neither could achieve alone. At the bottom, a large group of people receiving UBI and doing work that the market doesn't pay for. Caregiving, community building, creative expression, civic participation, the maintenance of human connection in a world where economic transactions increasingly don't require it. The economy of year 10 works. By measurable output, it works better than any economy in history. Whether it is a good society is a different question and a harder one. The jobs that AI cannot take are not the jobs that require the most education or the most skill in the traditional sense. They are the jobs that require the most humanity. The hospice nurse who sits with a dying person and their family. The therapist who creates the conditions for genuine self-examination. The teacher who sees a child who is struggling and knows, without data, without an algorithm, that something is wrong at home. The friend, the parent, the neighbor, the community member who shows up. These are not economically valued activities in the current system, or rather, they are undervalued relative to the information processing tasks that AI has now made essentially free. The world after AI takes every job it can take is a world that will have to decide whether the things AI cannot do are the things that matter most. That decision about what human beings are actually for is the most important question that any civilization has ever faced. And it is being forced on us not by philosophers but by a technology that is better than us at almost everything except being human. Subscribe, because the answer to that question is the one that determines what kind of world we leave behind.